again, everyone. I'm Johnny, and yet again, I'm here to talk to you about another great project that Sputnik is funding. I'm here with India Johnson. Hi, India. Great to see you.
Hi, Johnny.
Hi. Now, usually our grants go to those who are in and around the Sputnik community, which is mainly based in the UK. But every now and again, a grant application comes along from further afield that we just can't resist, and this would definitely be the case here. Because India, where are you sitting now as we're doing this interview?
Iowa City, Iowa. It's a city in eastern Iowa.
Eastern Iowa, which for the less geographically minded of you, is in the United States of America, which is a long way away from where we are now. We're doing the whole time difference thing here. It's a different time of day. But yeah, India's project is fantastic, and I just wanted to introduce it to you today. But first of all, India, could you just introduce yourself as an artist? What's your artistic journey? What do you do? All of that sort of stuff.
Sure. Thank you. Um, so I'm really excited to collaborate with Sputnik. I work with Christian texts, mostly the Psalms and the Book of Common Prayer, and I have developed techniques for running fabric through a typewriter. And so I make textiles and large pieces that oftentimes I'll build up these surfaces of sort of repeated text, repeated prayers on a textile surface.
Great stuff. And you, from that background, you approached about a very specific project. Can you tell us about the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really interested in an artist named Dom Sylvester, who was a poet, a typewriter artist, and a Benedictine monk. He spent most of his life at, I believe it's pronounced Prinknash Abbey in the UK, which donated many of his papers to a university nearby, and they are unprocessed. So that means there's no inventory of them. And so most researchers who are interested in him have used materials from the Sackner Archive of Concrete and Visual Poetry. I had checked out a book about Dom Sylvester several years ago and was paging through it and thought, I absolutely need to see these in person. I should plan a trip to the Sackner Archive. And when I searched for it, I learned that it had just been donated to the university in the town where I live.
Wow.
And it felt so, it felt like fate or God or not a coincidence in this sort of cosmic way. And I knew I really wanted to spend some quality time with his papers, but it took a couple years because when a library gets things, they have to organize everything, inventory it, and write a guide. And that has actually not been done for Dom Sylvester's papers, but the library has worked with me to allow me to access them, even though they haven't been organized. So the first step for me, I started this last week, is just inventorying, what's everything that's there in kind of a loose way. And the archive includes some correspondence, ephemera from shows, and original typewriter artwork. Dom Sylvester, themes in his work, you can tell he was really, I think he was a co-founder or founder of the Meister Eckhart Society. So he was really interested in mysticism. Repetition is a big element of his work.
Yeah, sure.
It's very material, and he does talk about it being, he talks about all of the different techniques that he used to get the effects he wanted at the typewriter. And so I think he probably thought of himself more as a poet, but he really feels like a little bit of a typewriter craftsperson at points. And yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, so basically, your art practice was one of your main inspirations is this guy Dom Sylvester, who's like based in England, and then you're going to come to England and you find out that his archive is sent to where you live. That's what you're saying. That is amazing. Like it's amazing. You must have been so happy, like awestruck, whatever, when that happened. It's amazing. Within this, I guess there'll be some people listening and watching this who are thinking, oh yeah, I know, typewriter artist, all of that stuff. They'll be like, of course, I'm there already. But even some who are probably quite heavily involved in their own art forms, this will be quite foreign. And I know the phrase or the title concrete poet comes up a lot. Dom Sylvester was a concrete poet. What is that? Can you put that in another way to explain that to people?
Totally. So concrete poetry was an international visual poetry movement that had its height in the 1960s and 70s. So the main centers for it were actually Latin America, especially Brazil, and Northern Europe. Dom Sylvester is known for really further, like kind of being one of the people who brought concrete poetry to England, and would be considered like one of England's main concrete poets, probably along with Ian Hamilton Finlay, who, if you're listening and you can go see his garden of sculptures, it's open to the public. I've always wanted to go. And so concrete poets were really focused on the idea that language itself is material. It's a thing. It's not about something, it's a thing in and of itself.
Yeah.
And by manipulating how it looks and feels, and sometimes even how it tastes or smells, or approaching it performatively, you generate concrete poetry.
Love it. So, because India, you're doing this research project, and you're going to wade through the archives. At the end of it all, you've got a kind of, there's an outcome that you've got in mind. What are you going to, where's it going to lead to, do you think?
So I hope to do two things. One is to do a little bit of writing about digging through this archive, because there hasn't actually been a lot published on Dom Sylvester. There is one sort of exhibition catalog called Notes from the Cosmic Typewriter.
Love it.
That's really wonderful. And he's included in lots of collections of visual and concrete poetry. But I think that there's more, you know, he was so expansive as an artist and intellectual. He was the literary editor for the Jerusalem Bible. He was a scholar who wrote really extensively about mysticism. And so I think I'm interested in taking a pretty holistic approach to understanding his work. And I also hope to make artwork in response. So what I've been working on my typewriter, I'm going to pull it down here. I've been working on pieces on needlepoint charts. And so the phrase here that's repeated across the top is "disease so irresistible." And at the bottom, the phrase kind of transitions to "ease of resistance."
Wow. That's brilliant.
And so one of the things that's really wonderful about typewriter art is that you can run so many more things through typewriter than people think. Again, I often work running fabric through typewriter, but you have this sort of like ability to layer, and it's very like Dom Sylvester's typewriter art pieces, they feel really intimate. They're super delicate. Like the surface of the paper is almost bubbled from being hit so many times with the keys. And they're on this really thin polished paper. They're like little leaves that feel really sort of precious, I guess. Fragile is maybe a better word.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully kind of developing a body of work that kind of combines some of the repeated typing and patterning that's characteristic of my work with some of maybe alternate substrates like cloth and these needlepoint charts.
Well, India, it's delightful to be able to connect with you. Thank you so much for getting in touch, and we're so pleased to be able to help in any way with your project, and really looking forward to seeing where it all leads. And for you, if you're watching, if you would like to contribute to projects like this, I mean, there must be lots of, we've come, India's from Iowa, there must be lots of projects like this around with people of Christian faith delving into artworks, getting involved in traditions, coming up with different styles, jumping into different disciplines. Well, if you give us your money, we will give it to artists like India, which is surely, couldn't be a better advert for our patronage scheme. But India, lovely to catch up, and all the best. See you soon.
Yeah, thank you, Sputnik.